Hello, hello, Donna.
Hi.
Awesome, awesome. All right, let's get this party started.
Okay.
Welcome to another episode of Your Diabetes Coach, which is a podcast with one objective and one objective only: the reversal of your type 2 diabetes. And my guest today is Donna Cross, who did, like me, just that, was successful at reversing her type 2 diabetes. So I'm going to let Donna just tell her story because she can have an impact on all of you by this amazing story that she's about to share. So, Donna, welcome.
Thank you
Welcome.
so much.
You're welcome. So, how did your journey start? How long? When? Well, let's start with when were you diagnosed with type 2 diabetes?
Okay, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes on April 4th, 2018.
Wow, you even know the exact date. That's something else. Look
Oh,
at that.
goodness. 2:30 in the afternoon. How about
Wow.
that? Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Um, just also so you know, I did have, even though it's different, I did have gestational diabetes with both pregnancies. And I also have a genetic component in which my family has type 1 and type 2. So I had the
Okay.
trifecta.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And
Yes.
on that day and time when you were diagnosed, what exactly went through your mind?
Okay. Well, the day before, April 3rd, was a Sunday. I even know it was a Monday that I was diagnosed. It was Easter Sunday. And I had particularly binged quite a bit. Probably the most I think I've ever had in one sitting. And I guess I'll talk about that. But I had an eating disorder since around the age of 3, compulsive emotional overeating disorder. So that Easter Sunday, I had binged particularly well, and woke up that Monday morning to go to work, and I didn't feel quite well. I felt off, tired, and to be gross, I thought I was experiencing a UTI, which, is a common thing. Had some pain, a little bit of pain and discomfort, stomach area, a little bit of bleeding, and I'm like, well, I better get to the doctor at some point. But as I always did, I ignored, denied. Went to work. I was a paraprofessional at the local middle school here. Around fifth period, around lunchtime, I went to the cafeteria. And at that point, what I did was, I was a one-on-one paraprofessional with a student, basically monitored her while she ate her lunch. And
You're in New Hampshire, correct?
I'm in New Hampshire, yes.
Gotcha.
Yep. All of a sudden, I wasn't feeling very well. I got very dizzy. And I'm like, oh boy, I think I'm getting sick. So I asked another paraprofessional to watch my student as I went to the bathroom. Went into the bathroom. To my horror, blood was pouring out of the rectal area. Yeah, I, needless to say, was like, uh-oh, I'm in serious trouble. Cleaned myself up, went to my boss. I got to get out of here. Went to drove myself to the local convenient MD. Got there. They said, yeah, looks like you might have a bladder infection that spread. So let's go get some blood work done and some urine tests done and the whole thing. So I had some tests done. A few minutes later, they come in, nurse comes in, doctor comes in. They did not look happy. And they said, well, we think we know what the situation is. You're dumping sugar. It's a lot of sugar in the urine. Let's take a finger prick and see what's going on. And, the dread starts because I'm like, here we go. I knew it. And they took the tests and my blood sugar was 510.
Wow.
And for people who don't know, normal blood sugars for a normal person without type 2 diabetes should be low hundreds. If you have eaten 2 hours after, should be under 140 or thereabouts. So I was 510. So needless to say, not good. They said, well, you're on the verge of a diabetic coma. Call your husband. Let's get you to the ER. Okay. I was in shock, however, not because I knew deep down this was going to happen at some point in my life. Here's my comeuppance for binging the day before. The guilt and the shame just overwhelmed me. Husband showed up. I'm in hysterics. A nurse comes in, a different nurse who had heard the hysteria. And, Donna, I'm type 2 diabetic too. And all you got to do is take a pill. I just take a pill every day. And I just don't eat peas and I don't eat corn and I'll have half a cupcake and I'll have it, and it was like, wah. Don't talk to me, lady. My life is over and no, just, can you go away now? Can you go away? But, I'm trying to be nice and I'm like, yeah, okay. So my husband drives me to the ER. I don't remember the ride. I get there. I get into the gown. I get weighed. I got, the electrodes all over me, checking my heart. Am I having a stroke? Am I having a heart attack? Am I having all this stuff? And they started pumping fluids in me. And I guess the telltale sign is when you start getting fluids pumped in, if your blood sugar goes down, that means your body is still making its own insulin. If it does not go down, your pancreas is dead.
So this is after taking in, what did you say? What did they give you?
They pump, intravenous fluid.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because that's your test. What is your body doing? Is it making its insulin? Is your pancreas dead? Do you have type 1? Do you have type 2? Like, they're trying to figure out where you're at. So they pump you with intravenous fluid.
But at that point, prior to that, introducing you to the fluid, what was your blood sugar level?
It was 510 at the convenient MD. When I got to the ER, it had gone down to 4.25.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And they were looking for, if they gave you the fluids, if your blood sugar level went down, then
your body is making insulin.
Gotcha.
Still, which means you're type 2.
Yep. Gotcha.
If it stays high,
there's no insulin. The pancreas is not. Yeah.
Pancreas is dead. No more insulin in your type 1.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's what they were looking for. So my blood sugar went down to the 200s within a half hour. So good news. Okay. It's type 2. I don't have to have a Dexcom on me for the rest of my life or anything like that. That's kind of good news. In the grand scheme. And everything else was healthy. Heart was healthy. Wasn't having a stroke. Everything like that. So basically that was it. They gave me a prescription for metformin. I keep forgetting this. They also checked my A1C, and if for people don't know what that is, it's a 3-month test to see how your cells are glycated. So how much glucose is in your cells, because your cells are supposed to be able to absorb the glucose and use it as energy. In a diabetic, it can't. It's like blocked. Mm-hmm. So it sticks there. The glucose sticks to your cells instead of getting used. So a normal person without diabetes, the A1C, it should be about 5.7 or lower. And I was 12.3.
Wow.
So
and that's your 3-month window.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for the past 3 months, whatever I have been eaten, that sugar stayed stuck to my cells. My cells did not use that glucose as energy and fuel. So basically, that's how you know that's what type 2 diabetes is. You can't process the sugars and the carbohydrates correctly. So 12.3, you're done. So, so they gave me a prescription for metformin. Metformin is a medication that brings your A1C down. So go to your PCP in the morning. Good luck. Okay. So I went to the PCP the next day, and I'm sitting there, and he comes in. Well, Donna, you have type 2 diabetes. No shit. Yep. Thank you. No shit, Sherlock. Okay. So we did a whole physical, and come to find out, yes, I did have some neuropathy in my toes. So he gave me a prescription for alpha lipoic acid.
Were you aware of the neuropathy, which I imagine was slight? There was no pain at that point. There was really no pain involved or anything.
Yes, I have had a whole year worth of denial of symptoms before this even happened. Yes, that was one of the denial symptoms. Numbness. I had numbness. No, I didn't have any pins and needles or pain yet. Just numbness. I feel like I can't feel my feet.
Yeah.
Can't feel my toes, which particularly frightened me because my grandfather lost both his legs from this. So that I remember that one really well. But the neuropathy came and went. It didn't stay. So that's how the denial came in, because it wasn't always there. So I'm like, I just need new shoes. You write it off. But no, I had some neuropathy. So it wasn't severe, but enough. So he gave me that supplement. And the whole thing, he says, you're healthy. He checked my cholesterol. Cholesterol in a normal person should be about 100. I was 116, wasn't severe. That's due to the diabetes. So he said, we'll watch that. But other than that, I was fine. And he just said, okay, well, we're going to, get you to a diabetic food counselor and get you going. So that was fine. He left the room for a couple minutes for me to get changed, came back in, and he said these words to me that were like angels from heaven. He said, the ultimate goal is to get you off of these drugs for good and be on diet and exercise only. And I know you can do it. So for a doctor to say that to me.
Yeah. That's what I was just going to say.
Was rare.
Yeah.
Because, I thought I was going to be on all these medications the rest of my life. He had the faith in me to say, nope, you can do this.
Yeah.
It gave me hope. And I held on to that, and I held on fast to that.
Now, were you overweight at the time?
Yes. My highest weight was back in 1999, and that was 300, and my highest recorded weight. Now, so I could have been heavier before, but this is recorded because I never weighed myself.
Gotcha.
I was at my first prenatal appointment when I found out, 339. At this time, I was 254. So I was able to get it down some, but my eating disorder kept it yo-yoing. I would go up and down, up and down, up and down. So I would be between 339 and 254 was pretty much the lowest I had been. So it's been up and down. So, but at that point, yes.
So had you been overweight most of your adult life?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, how old are you?
I'm 53.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. So wait, so in this was April, right?
Yes.
April
Yes.
2018. So in 2 years, actually, let's be specific. 2 years, and that's May, June, July, August. Almost 2 years and 4 months to the day, almost.
Yeah.
What is your weight today? Tell
One.
everybody.
147.
Yeah. I saw your pictures. It blew me away. Your
The
before and
pitch.
after picture is just, it tells everything.
Well, that picture actually, what I was 154. I'm 147 now. I've gone down some more. I think because because I think of COVID. I think
Yeah.
a little stress. But yeah, it's yes, now 147. So I have actually lost a grand total of 192 pounds.
So when a doctor shared his that with you, right? His
Yep.
confidence in you, and to be able to do that, which God bless him,
Yes, God bless
for
him.
saying, yeah. So what was the first step that you took? Did you immediately start making changes? What was the first step for you to start this process of reversal? And it's funny, the term reversal, I have found that throughout the years when I would share my story with people, I did a lot of speaking engagements, and it seems to have taken a turn over the last, I would say, 2 years, if not 3 years, where that word is not a bad word anymore, because reversal was always associated with, in people's minds, especially from those um, in the medical community, it would be associated with cure. And I would have to go into the explanation and say, I didn't say I cured my diabetes.
Right.
If it's the equivalent of me taking my diabetes, putting it into a room in my house, locking the door, and putting the key in my pocket. So as long as I stay doing what I'm supposed to be doing pertaining to my, consistency in my lifestyle habits and all that, that that diabetes stays in that room. But as soon as I start going back to my old ways,
Yep.
it's the equivalent of going, taking the key out of my pocket, putting it into that door, opening the lock, and inviting. And that's simply what it is. It's like, come on, I missed you. Come back into my life. Let's go. So it's funny how now reversal is more of an acceptable term, and you have organizations like Virta Health, which is a very reputable organization that focuses on diabetes reversal through diet only, no
Yeah.
medication. Through the ketogenic diet, and the data and the research that they've been able to put out there, that doctors are now embracing this. So that, again, God bless that doctor for being
Mm.
able to share that with you. Now, has that been your experience when you say the word reversal?
Yeah, because people, I would say reversal, and they would say, "Oh, it's cured." No, 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 no. And I word remission.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what because I consider it like it's stopped,
Yes.
but I have the power to start it all over
Exactly.
again.
Yeah. So you started
And
right
I have.
away. As he told you that, did you start making changes immediately?
Well, I try. I tried. So what I did was I had to go to the food counselor. That was my first
Got it.
step. So, I think I don't remember, but it was very quickly thereafter that I started with the food counselor, who was the one that told me that it's carbohydrates that you look at and nothing else. So you have to start reading food labels, which I never did. And the thing that struck me was I don't have to look at sugar grams. I have to just look at carbs, and that's it, because the sugar grams are included into the carbohydrate. Yeah, I didn't know any of that. So that was easy. I'm like, okay. And she said, you just have to make sure that in order for you to have healthy weight loss and to get this down, along with metformin, you have to eat certain amount of carbohydrates per meal per day. And so I I was like, okay, I think I could do that. Now, she did not, however, say to me, you have to cut out all grain and you have to cut out all this, all that. Her stance is just, you can have whatever you want, just count the carbs, make sure you're in this amount every single day, and you'll be fine. So I took that, and she was very nice, and it was, and very comforting, and I could talk to her, and she was supportive, and it was great. I go home, and I start reading every label in the house, and I come to figure, I calculated, I was eating 100 grams per meal.
Wow.
Easily. I mean, easily. It sickened me. And I did a lot of research. On top of the books that she gave me, I started reading a lot.
Now, was she a registered dietitian or was she a nutrition?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Both.
Okay.
Both. A diabetic nutritionist.
Now, was she following she was, the USDA guidelines?
Okay. Oh, yes.
Gotcha.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I went one step further though. Because I'll tell you. So after I went to the doctor and to the nutritionist, the next day I went for breakfast, and my breakfast normally was a banana, a bowl of shredded wheat and bran, and skim milk.
Wow.
Now, I mean, hello. Now, for me, I was like, okay, that's my normal thing. But I'm like, well, I got to start really looking at the food label. So let's take a look. So I went and Google became my best friend. And I Googled banana, there's 30 grams per. I'm like, whoa, okay. Well, I guess I won't be having a banana right now. So I put that away. And then I said, all right, I'm going to look at the label of the shredded wheat. And I was like, I don't know. I can't even remember, 38 per ounce or something. I was like, ew, that's not good. I go, well, I'll do the serving size. And the skim milk, even the skim milk, a cup of that was 15. I mean, I was like, okay.
I consider that sugar water.
See, I didn't know, you're thinking skim, you're thinking,
exactly.
You're thinking, and so, right, it's sugar water. So I ate the serving size, a very small portion of this cereal. And I'm like, okay. And I had to start testing my sugar 2 hours after each meal and all that. 2 hours come by. I'm supposed to be under 140. I'm 180. I flipped my lid. I'm like, what's going on? What did I do? What's happening? I'm like, I'm going to die. That I don't know what to do. So I called the nutritionist, and I spoke to another one. She says to me, yeah, anything that's got to do with wheat, that's very dense in carbohydrate. So that's going to happen. And she left it at that. And that was like, bing. Oh, okay. Grain.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's all she said. But it put that in my head. I started Googling. I started reading. And that's when I decided, from everything I read, do I need grains in my life? Is it necessary to live? And no, it's not. I've come to realize, no, it's not necessary.
And it's so contrary to what we've been told for years.
Whole grain, whole grain. No, nope. And I'm like, okay. And then in my reading, I also was reading stuff about processed sugar and processed food. And my favorite food was granola bars. And not only is that a wheat product, but it's got sugar in it and it's processed. And I said, okay, processed sugar. Do I need this in my life? Can I live without it? And yeah, I can. So from that day forward, I cut out all grain-based carb, all processed sugar. I said, you know, can I live on lean meat, lean fish, low-fat dairy, eggs, peanut butter, vegetables? Can I do that? Yes, I can. And that's what I did. And then I said, okay, so I know I have to exercise every day.
Now, had you been exercising prior to this?
Okay. Yes. So I found, I don't know if you ever heard of her, Leslie Sansone, Walk at Home.
Mm-hmm.
I found her in after I had my first child, about 2000.
Great videos.
Oh, amazing! Yeah. She's amazing. I did it here and there, and it was easy and it was fun, and she was a goofball and she made me laugh, and it didn't seem like a workout at all. And I had accumulated quite a bit of her tapes, and DVDs, but I would use them as much as I could, but not a lot. And I remember I'm like, okay, now can I commit to working out with her 7 days a week? Can I do 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles? Can I do it? And I said, yes, I can. I know I can do it. So I did. So I did those 3 things.
So for people that are not familiar with Walk at Home, just quickly explain exactly what that is, because I know so many people could benefit from that, especially now where you have 2 things going on. You have the hot weather for those of us that are in, we're in the summer months right now. It's the beginning of August. A lot of people don't want to go outside, especially say in Florida or some of those states. And then you have the COVID-19 situation where a lot of people are fearful of going out. So I've been recommending that to my clients like crazy, and they 100% of them love it. But I'm sorry, can you just explain what it is?
Oh, sure. Well, she's Leslie Sansone. She's like an earth angel to me. She has been doing these videos for, goodness, I'd say since the 90s, maybe even more. And all it is, it's a walking-based aerobic, low-impact aerobic workout in your home, where the basic moves are marching in place. And you can do that throughout the whole DVD if you want. Just march. You can do that. She adds simple moves, side steps and kicks and knee lifts, things like that. And kind of like builds it up. But the thing is, she always stresses is it's your workout. You do what you can do as long as you keep to the pace of the music. No matter what you do, you'll get fitter.
And I noticed in the videos that she has a very diverse participants in the class. Does. Some are overweight, some are thin, male, female, old, young. That's what caught my attention when I initially found her. Now, you were featured on her site.
Yes.
How was that connection made?
Yep.
How did you go from being someone that used these these videos to how did you and her, how did you make that connection?
Well, so in March I lost my job to COVID, so that's when I started the blog. And in starting to write the blog, you're thinking of all the things in your life, and I thought about her. And I said, I'm going to write her a little letter, just telling her my story. Wasn't expecting a thing. Didn't even think I'd even get a response. But I sent an email, and they wrote me back like immediately.
Wow.
And they said, yeah, what an inspirational story. How wonderful. Congratulations. What's your T-shirt size? We'd like to send you a T-shirt. Oh, nice. Great. Okay, sure, I give you that. Well, not only, so then they said that. Then they sent me another email, and they said, do you mind just sending a before and after picture? And I said, sure, No, I don't care. Sure, go ahead. And so I sent him the one at 339 and then the one at 154. So I guess 3 days later, literally like 3 days later, I got this box, this huge box from them with DVDs, T-shirts, water bottles, bags, stretchy bands with a handwritten note, which I have on my wall. You know, I'm a super walker. You're so inspiring. Congratulations. I was like, this is awesome. I totally didn't expect it. And then they put me on their social media, which they didn't tell me they were going to do that either. and that's how that happened. It was really, really
So
cool.
prior to that, how long had you been using that following the videos?
I want to say since 2000.
Okay. So this isn't just something that you discovered when you found that you had, type 2. You had been doing this
No.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
okay.
Off and on. It wasn't consistent, but it was off and on. And I when I use it, I enjoyed it. And like I said, I loved how she was goofy and she made me laugh, and it was easy. But I never really took it very consistently until I was diagnosed. And then I'm like, can I do this consistently? Now I had accumulated over the years some DVDs. They sent me a whole bunch more. And I'm like, all right, can I do? Yep, I can. Because
I have some of my clients, like most of her videos are available on YouTube. So they just go right.
She has an app.
So they just go right to that. Yeah, that's amazing. So what I have is a bunch of questions for you. Quick questions, right? And we're just going to just go, fire through. These are things that I'm sure that people are going to be interested in. Okay?
Okay.
So put a percentage on this. What do you consider the percentage of what contributed the most to getting you from that day from when you were diagnosed to today? Okay? Was it how much percentage of it was exercise and how much percentage of it was diet?
Oh boy. 80% diet, 20% exercise.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah. That's what everybody tells me. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because as I had mentioned to you in the prior conversation, that when I was diagnosed with diabetes, which was 1988, and I ignored it for 25 years, I was walking around like I was okay with a blood sugar of 450, 400, with no symptoms, nothing other than frequent urination, right? I worked out, and I thought the working out was going to address it. It did not. And there was actually two things that I did incorrectly. Was the type of workouts that I was doing did nothing for my health. These were all bodybuilding based, very heavy. I wanted the cosmetic changes, but these were ego driven exercise programs. And number two, it doesn't matter what kind of workouts I was doing because my diet was crap. And it actually, my workouts actually made my diabetes retinopathy and the hemorrhages I got in my eyes even worse because of the strain, But I love that answer. So it's 80-20, the 80-20 rule. Yeah. And what would you say your weight loss contributed to getting your blood sugar down where it was stable and you didn't have any more spikes? So how much weight do you think you lost? And at what rate did you lose that weight before you got to see, or was it while you were still heavy, did you see a stable weight loss? Like, how did that go?
Okay. The minute I removed grain-based carb and processed sugar from my diet, and the minute I started working out every day, there was a 3-week period in which I was going through withdrawals because in my body, and I'm not a doctor, so this may not be the same way for everybody, in my body, the grain and the sugar was addiction to me.
Absolutely.
Okay. It was
Yep.
toxic. Okay. It took about 3 weeks to get out of my system. Once that happened, the weight literally fell off. When I say literally fell off, I'm saying 5 pounds a day, 6 pounds a day. By the time, in 1 year, I was taken off all meds to the day, and I was down to 172. So I wasn't even down to where I am now. So literally fell off.
Other than metformin,
because
what were you taking?
Prozac and Abilify for my depression and my anxiety.
So those you were able to get off of those as well? Wow.
Yep. And my alpha lipoic acid for my neuropathy because the feeling came back in my feet.
Studies are suggesting that there is a direct correlation between depression, between many cognitive issues, and sugar.
Oh, yeah. It's a drug. It's a drug. It's the equivalent of heroin. It's for, and again, not for everybody, but for my body, it was toxic.
Yeah. So what is your definition? The quickest way you can, what you can tell me, as far as what is your, because everybody's different, what is your definition of reversal?
Remission.
Okay.
I consider it remission. Stopped. It stopped in its tracks. You have to control it. It's an every single day. You wake up in the morning, commit. I have another day on this earth. Now I'm going to commit every day. I'm eating 40 carbs a day. This is what I'm eating: breakfast, lunch, dinner. Bam. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. It's very structured, very regimented. I am a totally different person than I was before, where it was all like, denial, denial, denial. I live my life like, now it's bing, bang, boom.
So this has carried over into other aspects of your life.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure has.
I like the way you're saying
yep,
that.
It sure has.
Yeah. Like you know what that makes me laugh, because I did a blog post one time, and the blog post was a picture of someone in a boat, right? It was I think it was a canoe or a kayak, and it was actually a river where the current, you could see that the current was moving. And I said, the equivalent of not taking your control on a daily basis of your diabetes is the equivalent of being in this canoe without any oars. And life is just going to take you wherever it wants to go. You have no control. No control. Yep. So it's interesting you say that, and this is what people don't realize. They're mindful of, okay, my blood sugar, and that needs to happen. The blood sugar needs to get down. We need to prevent, the spikes. We need to get into what I like to call a low insulin state, right? Yep. But what people, and what I try to get across, and, to everybody that I meet that has diabetes, is that it's great to focus on that, but also be mindful of the other areas of your life. Because I have a saying, habits are like wolves. They travel in packs. So if you start your, eating habits, proper positive eating habits, without even realizing it, all of a sudden now you're going to start exercising, a little bit more consistently, and all these other areas it's just gonna like flourish into all these other areas of your life. And what you said is interesting to me, and this is what I want to get across to those that are listening, is that this is a daily commitment. You wake up and you make a commitment, and that's the key right there.
Because I could wake up tomorrow morning and say, screw this. Give me my cheesecake. I'm all done. Honestly, I could.
Do you cheat now?
No, I haven't cheated since April 4th, 2018.
What if you knew that a slice of cheesecake wouldn't spike you? but instead of a slice, but
No.
let's say a quarter of a slice, would you still do it? Why?
Nope. Fear.
Got it.
Because this is all fear based. I want to make that perfectly clear too. I know who I am. I have an eating disorder. Is it gone? Yes, it's gone, but it'll come back. It's the same thing. I consider it remission too, because if I eat cheesecake, it's going to come right back. I will start binging, and the cycle begins. Never going to I will never, ever, ever touch it again.
So you would say
never.
A lot of this has to do with self-awareness, knowing who you are, like you just said.
Yep. You have to know who you are. I mean, and you got to be honest with yourself. And I've had a lot of things bubble up, and a lot of, during writing my blog, a lot of crap has come back to me. And I know from whence I've come. I know why this has happened. I know who I am, and if anybody, no one has, but if anybody were to say, hey, just do this, no, it's just, I won't do it.
You're still doing the videos?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of, well, I just had, where I live, there's a public access station, Exeter TV, and they did an interview with me, and it's now on YouTube, and it will be on the public access channels here and on their website. So it's about an hour long. So that was
How'd they find out about your blog?
Yes, when I started my blog, I really wanted to get my message out there. So I contacted Exeter TV. I sent them an email, and then they got back to me. They read my blog and the whole thing. So yeah, we just started with the conversation.
You're fearless. You just say, so many people don't take that step because they fear rejection. You have nothing to lose. That's what I tell people. Send an email and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen?
What could happen? No. Okay. Whatever. I mean, I've been through hell. That's not going to help them. Do a thing for me. You know what? The whole thing was just advantageous at the time. The timing was just perfect because, I lost my job to COVID. I'm home. I have my 2 children are here now doing remote learning. They're working in the service industry, so they're essential workers. My husband's an essential worker, and I'm not. So I'm home, and I'm starting to listen to the radio, watch TV, and I'm noticing that now there's spikes in drug abuse. Now there's domestic violence happening. Now people, the COVID-19, not only is it a disease, but I'm gaining all this weight, 19 pounds, 20 pounds, because I'm eating everything in sight. And no one's taking proper care of themselves. And I said, this is the perfect opportunity to say, you can't take this pandemic and use it as an excuse for not having proper self-care. You've got to take care of yourself. This is the time to take care of yourself of all times.
That's right.
Don't you want your immune system to be strong? You don't want this disease, do you? Well, if because if I get COVID, my remission's going to get kicked off. I'm going to be right in the hospital. I have to be careful too. But don't you want to take care of yourself and now? So that's kind of what spurred this blog on. The timing was perfect.
So you started the blog in March.
Well, yeah, I think my first post happened in April, but I started, planning it.
Now, what exercise do you do now? Is it mostly cardio, or it's a combination of cardio and strength training?
Every day I do at least 2 miles with Leslie still,
Mm.
and like there will be some days I'll incorporate hand weights, sometimes not. I also incorporate outdoor walking, and I also have an exercise bike that I will do, and I exercise twice a day.
Are you doing any strength training?
So,
With other than the dumbbells that you're doing, so it's mostly what you just described. So it's mostly cardio related. Would you agree?
I would say, yeah, it's mainly
Got
cardio
it.
related.
Got it.
Yeah, because and maybe I should incorporate more weight training because I am postmenopausal. I think it's might be better for my bones. But at this point, I enjoy the cardio more. I do, like I said, I do tend to. With Leslie, she does incorporate some strength training within her workouts, so I do it like that. Not a lot.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's mainly cardio. It just I want to burn my sugar off. I mean, is my thing. But I do it twice a day. So I'll do it after lunch and then after dinner.
So if you can give one message to the people that you're trying to reach and you're trying to help, because you're on a mission. You're on a mission just like I am.
Yep.
You know, there are people out there that are needlessly suffering because they don't know that there's an option, and it's not as complicated as it's made, to be. It's a matter of actually those two words is commitment, as you mentioned, and consistency, which is what you did. You're consistent. You don't deviate from the plan.
No, I don't.
And if you did, it's the point now where it's become a habit that you can easily jump right back on the horse.
Yes.
Would you say, and with me, well, one other question, or actually two other questions pertaining to your diet. Do you count calories?
No.
And is your diet considered low carb, keto, or a combination?
Oh boy, I don't know. I am around 40 grams of carbs a day.
Do you track your protein and fat?
Do I track it?
Okay,
no.
So you're mostly tracking how many carbs that you eat, but
I'm tracking carbs.
But,
yeah,
I mean, it sounds like you're getting sufficient amounts of protein. You're eating meat, eggs. But you did mention something about low fat.
Yes. Okay. So because my cholesterol went up, and I want to shy away from high fat. I don't want the cholesterol to go up. So I'm trying to stay as low fat as possible, just for that reason. So that's why I know there is a keto is like, if I'm not mistaken, it's low carb but a higher fat, because the higher the fat, the lower the carb. I think I don't know much. All I know is I watch carbs, and that's all I do.
And it's working. And it's working for you. It's obviously
working for me.
It's obviously working for you. And I found that regardless of whether someone chooses keto, like for instance, I've been on keto now for 3.5 years, and it's probably the best decision I ever made. Did my homework. I tried it a number of years ago. It didn't work for me. And, we can get into this whole discussion about how cholesterol shouldn't be used as a marker anymore for heart disease. There's a lot of bad, incorrect science related to that, but that we'll leave for a whole other discussion, So I am a little biased towards keto, but I do realize this, that whatever a person chooses, especially if they're a type 2 diabetic, it needs to be lower in carbs. Whatever that level is, everybody's different. You got to find what works for you. I'm a big fan of eating to your meter, because that's going to tell you, aside from wearing a CGM, that's going to tell you exactly what's compatible to you. And the bottom line is that regardless of what route you take, 60 grams, 40 grams, 20 grams, keto, low carb, that it needs to be real food, nothing packaged. All
Right. Yep.
real
Whole
food.
foods.
Keep away from
Whole
the high
food.
fructose corn syrup. Minimize your
Right.
fruits because fructose is metabolized differently. And if you stick to that, you're good, and you're proof of that. You know, you're proof.
Yeah, and I do only have one serving of fruit a day, and I had brought it down to strawberries, which has really been pretty much as low as I can get. I was eating apple, like a green apple, every day, but I decided to go down further. So that's really, and I had that with Greek yogurt, which has tons of protein. So I have a ton of protein in my diet.
It sounds like what I eat.
have strawberries.
I had Greek yogurt last night with some blueberries that I threw in there. I get my daughter eats the vanilla one. I have just plain.
Yeah.
So what are your parting words that you can get across to someone that's ready, that's sitting on the fence, that may be in the same situation that you were in? What advice would you like to give them?
Get out and walk every single day for at least 5 minutes. And work your way up.
5 minutes.
Slowly.
Nice.
At least 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Just start there. Do a 5-minute walk. And then build yourself up. And before you know it, you'll have confidence. And you'll get stronger and more fit. And also, try to take out processed sugar from your diet. Nobody needs it. Nobody needs it. Take out processed sugar. Walk 5 minutes.
It's interesting what you just said. It's really, really coincides with everything that I believe in and what I try to teach, in that it's not about motivation. It's about confidence. Because if, you don't need to be motivated. Most of us don't need to be motivated to do 5 minutes of walking. Right? It's, for some, it might be like, what are you kidding? 5 minutes. But what it does is that it snowballs, like you just said. Over time, you increase. 5 turns to 10, turns to 15, and so on and so forth. And before you know it, you're walking an hour with no problem. And that's what I have found in being not only a health coach, but also a trainer, and working in different health club settings over the years. I would see it every year. Everybody tries to dig down deep, get all this motivation. They're sedentary all year long, and now they want to jump on a treadmill and do 35 minutes because and they want to sweat, and they want to go through all the discomfort and pain because that's what they saw that they do on The Biggest Loser,
Yeah, which was the worst thing that could have ever happened. Thank you. That was the worst thing they ever should have put on television. I am sorry.
I agree.
It was horrible. 100%. That was horrible.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Jillian.
Okay.
Okay. Shut my mouth. Okay. But yeah, worst experience. Worst.
Donna.
Yeah. Because that's exactly right.
This has
5 minutes.
Yes. That's I love that. I absolutely love that. So we are going to be following up with another talk to get a little bit deeper. But I apologize to everybody, but I think you're not going to mind. I wanted to keep this at 30 minutes. We're at almost 54 minutes, and it seems like,
oh, geez, okay.
There's so much more to cover. I want to get into more detail. I'm going to have you back as a guest, and tell everybody where they could find you. I want people to be able to see your blog and, just connect with you because you have so much to offer.
My blog is anewdelicious.blogspot.com.
Got it.
When you go there will be when you scroll all the way down, you will see the links to my Instagram and the links to my YouTube and the link to my new Exeter TV interview. And I'll put this podcast on there too.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to try to get, I'll get those links from you and see if I can put them in the show notes, which I'm sure I can. And it's been great. This was such a pleasure for me to have this conversation with you. And for those of you that are listening, I reached out to Donna. I saw her pictures and her story on one of the diabetes groups that we both belong to on Facebook. I reached out to her. She responded immediately, and I'm glad I did, because this is going to bring so much value to so many of you, and use her as an inspiration. Reach out to her. And with that, I would like to say thanks again for everyone. Thank you, Donna. And
Thank you.
Until next time, Your Diabetes Coach, the podcast that is focused on changing lives. Take care, Donna. Talk to you soon.
Bye. Thank you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.